guys,
You
I'm
can.
Leena El Deeb from Weya, and today I have with me Ahmed Elsharkasy, who is the CEO and co-founder of Knowledge Officer. I also have Farid Tabarki, who is a published author and the owner and founder of Studio Zeitgeist. And I also have Gaspar Rodriguez, who is the senior consultant at a startup called Absolutely, and the co-founder at RefugeeForce. So let me start this panel about the future of work in the time of coronavirus and what's yet to come that we still don't know, because
She didn't
who really
understand that
knows
I will be
really.
hosting. She don't know.
Let me start with this question to Ahmed. With all the talks about a COVID-19 wave, a second COVID-19 wave, how do you see the future of recruitment and talent acquisition?
Thanks a lot, Lena, for sharing this question. First, I have to say that basically, as you said, we don't know. We are just trying to predict. So basically, just take everything we said today with a pinch of salt. But yeah, I mean, I'll talk about it from my experience as an employer who also like hires. So I think one big shift that we have seen over the past month is like the close alignment between the recruitment department and the business department. They are now like sitting in the same room, or actually sitting in the same physical room, if we can say that. And that's happening before the recruitment and also like after the recruitment. What I mean by that is that before actually setting any hiring plans, we need to look closely at our business targets. What are the metrics and the KPIs that we want to hit? And then reverse engineer this into basically resources that we need to hit those goals. Before that, I think that this coupling wasn't, or this match wasn't been done as tight as it is now. And also the new shift is that even after the recruitment, looking at actually whether our plan have actually worked, whether those new resources on the sales front or on the engineering front, whether if I double my engineering team, have my productivity or efficiency increased by 1.5 or 1.7x, or there's something wrong. Because actually, I think companies and businesses are trying to reduce their waste as much as possible, and people are looking daily at their balance sheet and P&L, and no one is actually giving like less care to these things nowadays. That's definitely one shift I can see is happening. The second one is like recruitment and talent managers in general are more comfortable with rapid changing in terms of their hiring plans. Like we used to basically set the hiring plans for a half or for a quarter or for a year. This is not happening now. We actually change it like every quarter, like probably every 2 months or so, whether on a decline or rise. It depends on like how well the business is going. That's good news for the gig economy, because actually there's more shift towards like hiring contractors and short-term workers, which is great. And that's happening across the board in different industries. So that's good news to the gig economy or people who are more comfortable with this kind of flexible work. The last big change is focusing more on career skills and basically who are the employers that are going to move the needle in terms of my business metrics. So focusing less on just hiring for seniority or hiring for experience, and hiring for impact, if we can call it like this. And this is also like something that employees or like job seekers need to think about when they apply for jobs, because nowadays I think as an employer, I'm looking for someone who can demonstrate achievements and who can show a portfolio of basically impact as part of their applications. I'm looking less for just titles or seniorities. I'm looking more for impact and achievements. So that's something that I think job seekers need to highlight more and more in their job applications and CVs and LinkedIn profiles.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so and I have a follow-up question to what you just said. Yes, I agree with you that people are not really looking into or not really concentrating about um, uh, hiring new people because people don't want to pay more. But do you think there's another problem at the other end of that subject, which is the high turnover because of the nature of pandemics and everyone is losing their shits and all that?
I mean, that's happening for sure, to be honest. But I think also one, I guess everyone is used to it more than before. So I think like it's not a big deal as it was before. I mean, it depends also on your industry and how fast the changes are happening, or how fast you are affected as a company. It depends on the size of the company as well. So big enterprises are not affected as much as like scale ups and mid scale companies as startups, etc. But I think on the other side as well, like people or like the job seekers are basically looking more for job security. So I think there is a tendency from the employee side to stick to his or her job more often. So if as a company you're doing well, making sure that you are offering the right culture for your people and you value people before anything else, that's I think the secret sauce behind like making a good turnover during those days. And I guess like people now are a centerpiece of the business operations, and that's actually how it used to be. Just like we used to like focus less and we used to not to humanize the company's brand. At the end of the day, what's the company? It's a group of people. Like it's not more than that. But we used to care less about this. Nowadays, like companies or like job seekers are looking more for culture, are looking more for flexibility, are looking more for even like some sort of like emotional reassurance from time to time that things are good. I'm caring about you as a human before anything else, and I am looking as an employer on way to align your career ambitions and basically development goals as a person with my business sort of like ambitions and development goals as a business or as a company.
Okay, yeah. What do you think, Gaspar?
Thanks, Leena, and thanks, Ahmed. I think you made some really good points, Ahmed, and I also align with you when you talked about people hiring for impact. I think, this new normal or new time has given us a bit of a step back to say, okay, let's really think about our hiring. Let's think a bit more critically about who this person is, about their person's ambitions or cultural fit and all these things. So we've definitely seen that in the tech space, at least. There was a hiring freeze in the beginning here in the Netherlands, but as companies have opened up more and more, we have seen people asking different kinds of questions and looking for different characteristics. So I definitely agree, and I think it's a really good point.
Okay, let me shoot that question to Farid. Is that prevalent in your work, where you work?
Yeah, well, a couple of comments. I mean, I'm really happy that Ahmed stressed the importance of looking to impact. I mean, it's such an industrial way of thinking about these things you did when it comes to education, et cetera, et cetera. And it's much more interesting to see what kind of portfolio somebody has built up, the former experience, instead of like the former titles people had. So I think in that sense, it's very helpful that the last couple of months, of course, it has been a big tragedy for many people when it comes to sickness, but when it comes to business and when it comes to using the human capital in the right way, it's a great shift. Secondly, I would say that in that sense, you could say that we have been postponing our entry of the digital age for quite a while now, and we can't postpone it anymore. We have now really entered the digital age because we all had to use the digital tools, which were available for a long time. And of course, groups of people were using the digital tools, but now we see that everybody had to use the digital tools, although they were in a profession which wasn't used to using these tools at all. Think about education, think about health, think about all these professions which used to, well, we have been postponing the means and the possibilities now, and now they had to, because this was the only way to get connected, to help out people, and to make sure that your business is still thriving. So in that sense, there is a silver lining of the last couple of months. Now, of course, the big question, there are two big questions. One, there will be a vaccine medicine next year. So do we go back to business, the normal business, or do we really embrace these new possibilities? I mean, it's not clear that we don't go to the old business and we start a new business. So I think it's very important for the leadership to make sure that all the gains we gained in the last couple of months, that we keep them and not go back to normal once everything is well, kind of normal again. So I think that's a very strategic chance to make sure that all these things are in place to keep the new possibilities running. Second thing, and that's what I see in my business when it comes to the leadership of organizations, big or small, is that for them it's a real challenge. How do you lead your people in this digital age? I mean, they're not always at the office anymore. They have much more autonomy in their work, which is great, I think, and makes work more human. but it's also a big challenge for how you lead them, because before leaders were very easy and easygoing with their skills and competencies in the old world and the old world of doing management. But doing new ways of managing in this digital age is, of course, very different. So I see very insecure leaders which have to up their game and make sure that they have the right skills and competencies as a leader also in this new age where there's a completely new way of getting people enthusiastic and productive.
Okay, I think this really spontaneously brings me to the next question to you also, Farid. In the light of your observation and all what you just said in terms of business strategies around the world, because you're also a world traveler, as I knew from my research. What are some of the biggest lessons? Not now. Let's fingers crossed. Next year we will travel. Okay. What are some of the biggest lessons learned from this pandemic, and what should we preempt for next year's unknown challenges?
I think absolutely the biggest lessons learned is that we can change. I think so many of our organizations are still stuck in this industrial way of working. And when it comes to the hierarchies, when it comes to looking to the titles we just mentioned, when it comes to the work process and the workflows, I mean, and we really are shaken up. And I think this being shaken up is great. But it's up to us now how we reorder ourselves and how we really embrace this new time. So I think that's a really important lesson. And I think the second lesson is that we show ourselves resilience. We really shown that we are able to make this change with all these problems. We're still there. We're still making. We're still running our countries and our businesses. So I think this resilience also shows that we are able to make this shift. And the shift is forever. I think really we see the end of an era, and that we really are now focusing on the new things are needed. But then, of course, it becomes very important that once we are now, well, we had the biggest shock, but now it comes, of course, how do we learn from this and how do we make sure that people have the right competencies? Because I just talked about leadership, but what about all these competencies and skills that people in their daily jobs need to learn now that they have the right skills and the new skills they need? So lifelong development, I think, is a very important issue to include in this discussion to make sure that people are not only able to use it, but also not afraid anymore. I think many people have been waiting out there. Maybe all the generations in the workforce maybe are even more digitally connected. Make sure that new generations are connected to the older generations, making sure of each other's knowledge, and really then make the next step.
Okay, let me engage the others. Ahmed, do you think that's right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think Farid have coined this word change in everything he said, and actually he might have mentioned it like 5 or 6 times in his reply, and that's the true like feeling that we all get at the moment. Like COVID really have forced a lot of us to change, and like we change across the board. We change even some of our beliefs. Oh, can we live actually in our home for this amount of time every day? Can we hire remotely? Can we onboard remotely? Can we basically change our processes? Can we change even the way we serve our customers in many different ways? I think definitely this kind of change is something that we should have been like adapting to much faster. But that's one of the positive things of COVID, that basically the amount of speed or the agility that we had to embrace to be able to accept this change has been great. And I think this is something that we need to take on after COVID, hopefully, and after many of the upcoming challenges that the whole world would be facing. And as an individual as well, looking at the agility of learning, and that's something also that Farid have referred to. So this kind of like continuous learning mode that everyone would be looking to adopt, looking at your career as a continuously evolving product that is not basically static, and something that you need to update and constantly sort of like reflect based on what's happening around you. I guess definitely that's some of the things that all businesses have seen and all individuals have seen as well.
Okay, thanks, Ahmed. Okay, let me ask Gaspar. Do you have anything to add to what Ahmed and Farid just said about business strategies around the world and what lessons we should learn for the year?
I do. I just have one point because I do agree that the change is coming and it's already in motion. But at the same time, you saw when the vaccine news came out that Zoom stock dropped 20%. You know, so is everyone ready for that change? We don't know. And you know, younger people and people in tech are more willing and accepting and are saying, yeah, sure, why not? I can do my job remotely, but as in mass, are we actually ready to accept that change, and how much of it will go back to normal? I think will be really interesting to see. And in terms of the future of work, I think people are going to look for places that are more safe, and I think that they've seen some of these countries and some of these cities, if they're moving around, that maybe they're not very good at handling public health crises, right? So I think now that's become an indicator for people is like, if I'm moving to a new job or a new country or a new city, how good is this place going to be for me in terms of health and public health and security, if anything were to happen again, or if there were to be a third or fourth wave, right? So I think that's now on everybody's mind in terms of migration.
Just to add one thing here, Gaspar, I think to answer your question, is everyone ready for the change? I think none of us have been ready for the change, and for those even who have been ready for the change, they haven't been ready for the speed of this change that they have seen. I think, like, as if COVID have forced us off a cliff, and everyone has been basically trying to learn how to fly in their way down. Some of them have been able to do it, some of them haven't been able to do it, and some of us have been able to do it faster than others. But yeah, definitely agree with you, and that's a very good point on our ability to adapt to this change has been also like different, and that's a very good point to highlight as well.
And if I can add something, it's also up for discussion. I mean, I think it's really important. That's also what I advise all the companies and organizations I work for, is discuss with each other what you liked about the change. Make sure that everybody in your business, in your organization, is discussing what were the new possibilities we really liked. Maybe working at home for two days a week. I mean, not full time. I get that. But I think many people like not being in traffic jams anymore, etc., etc. So discuss with each other the benefits and discuss with each other the downsides. And then you can discuss with each other, okay, so these were the benefits. How can we endorse these benefits in our policies? So how can we make them inclusive, and how can we really make them work? And how can we make sure that this will never happen again if it happens to us again when it comes to the downsides? It's also a strategy decision for us amongst our employees to discuss.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for this very good conversation. But I have to move to a very important point, and I think that's the focal point of this summit. So, Gaspar, is it the same for emerging migrant entrepreneurs, or are they suffering from a very different perspective that we can't even relate to?
No, I think it's very similar, and I think people are looking for new opportunities, and you'll see that perhaps this kind of shock allows them to pursue those opportunities, right? And in a way that it didn't before. So people are thinking about launching something or thinking about starting something. There's more resources available virtually. You know, they can participate in an investor room like for this summit, or in a pitch competition in another country very easily. So I think it's overall the thesis that we're saying is it's kind of taking employers a bit of a step back to figure out who they want to hire, but at the same time, for an entrepreneur, it might be, especially an emerging entrepreneur, it might be, okay, is this the right time? And maybe they're taking a step back and saying, maybe it is the right time. Maybe I can do something. I have more flexibility. You know, I'm more at home. I have more control of my schedule. Maybe it is the right time to really start building my enterprise and getting myself out there. So I think that most of these things are good for entrepreneurs, and they have a lot more access. But of course, you lose that face-to-face aspect. And personally, for us, is like we're trying to launch a pilot in Berlin or in Paris, and we can't even go there, and it's only 2 or 3 hours away. You know, so it loses that a little bit of traction and getting things moving. But overall, I think it kind of allows entrepreneurs to think a lot about what they want to achieve and taking that step. So, yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing about being like the nature of this entrepreneur and where he comes from and where he's at. So if he's not at his hometown, or he's displaced or all that, that doesn't really make a difference. It's all like unifies all of, it's like, yeah, is that what you're saying? It's a union of all our problems.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes a difference, but at the same time, I think there are just more opportunities for you to share that problem, and say, look, this is what I'm trying to do, and put yourself out there. And I think that there's more opportunities than in the past when you had to be in a specific area. You had to, if you wanted to get an investor, you needed to go to London, and you need to be in that room, and you needed to meet with these people. And I think for entrepreneurs, it's broadened that, and you see it especially now with this summit. I mean, we have an investors room, and we can pitch to different investors all over the world. So I think it's a great opportunity to tell your story and put your name out there as an entrepreneur.
Okay, very interesting. All right, I came to the end of my questions, and the rest is up to our dear attendees. Okay.
Can I add something to what Gaspar said? Because
Yeah.
I'm wondering also, Gaspar, what do you see? What do you see? Because when it comes to the possibilities for refugee entrepreneurs, on the one hand, what I see, so please share your ideas with me. On the one hand, this crisis, people go for safe bets. So because they are afraid of things, things are so so difficult anyway. So they will go for the people they know, the solutions they know. So in that sense, it's a bit harder to get entry. On the other hand, so this is a very nuanced question. You see that we need so much innovation now in such a quick pace. You can't do it alone anymore. You need different ways of thinking, different approaches. Because that's the only way. I mean, now the pharmaceutical Pfizer came up with the medicine. They come up with the medicine in a consortium. It was not only them who created it, but it was created with the company in Germany, which is a very unusual way for a pharmaceutical, because normally you do it in your own laboratory, because then you can patent it and you can earn a lot of money. So here you see that innovations and cross innovations between companies and between institutions is very important for the fast pace of innovation. I think here entrepreneurs in general can play a very important role because of their enthusiasm, but also their out of the box thinking, which is very useful in such a crisis.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I just want to add that I think the power of that is the common goal, right? And having a common goal and looking for a common solution is bringing people together. It doesn't matter whether you're coming from a different country or you speak a different language. Like, the common goal is very powerful at this point, and that's what it's allowing a lot of innovation, especially in the health and health tech space.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And also, if I can add, I guess a common thing with migrant entrepreneurs, that we have been facing many challenges even before COVID. So actually, I think these challenges have toughened us up. And basically, it's a natural thing to be able to face a continuous set of challenges and take those risks. Like if I can remember only one thing, I used to work in Egypt for most of my life, and when I moved to London 6 years ago, I had to rebuild all my network from scratch. So as if I'm starting my career from zero, and basically I had to build my credibility in a different market. I have to knock on doors with investors whom I haven't heard of them before, whom I haven't met before, and who might have even some sort of previous perspective about migrant entrepreneurs or about where I came from. So I think we have been facing loads and loads of challenges. To be honest, I think on COVID specifically, this is across the board a challenge for every entrepreneur. I don't think there is anything different between being migrant or not on this occasion, which is good. Now it's a fair play.
Like, everyone is suffering. Okay. My last question, because we have 5 minutes, I think that's going to be enough to ask you guys, what are your favorite productivity apps in terms of work, other than, of course, the obvious one, Zoom, that we're using right now?
I can take a stab. So one that we've been using quite a lot is Miro. So that's the kind of visual post-it note software. yeah, it's really hectic, but I kind of like the brainstorming, and usually things come out of all the chaos. So it's one that I've used quite a bit in different projects, and it's becoming quite popular now. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Farid.
Yeah, I'm a frantic Slack user, and I also use it, which is funny because we do lots of research, and I use Twitter a lot to not only share our research, but also as a way of archiving our intellectual insights. So it's a maybe funny way of doing it, but it's a very useful way for us to not only share our insights, but also make it very searchable for people who are interested in downloading the database of the Twitter feed and well make their analysis themselves.
Okay, Ahmed?
Nothing advanced on my end, but we basically use Slack among other basic tools that I think every business would know. I think one of the things also I've always believed in my life, it's more important the way you use basically those apps or the way you communicate than actually what do you use. You could use pen and paper in a much efficient way than basically those apps. So one of the things we've been focusing on a lot is like getting cross teams together and basically having like continuous brainstorming on different big initiatives, like helping people learn how to actively listen to each other, how to build on top of each other, how to have like a weight which is more than the sum of its parts. So like this consistent sort of like flow or exchange of information between teams have been very, very useful to us, whether it's through Slack, whether it's through Trello, whether it's through like just like verbal meetings. Definitely there is more reliance on now documenting things, whether processes or outputs of meetings or like plans, given that we are not sort of like in and out the office every day. So I think, yeah, that's basically what I have to say about this topic.
Perfect. I am a fan of Notion. If you guys are interested in yeah, I love Notion. It's so nice. I love that. I fall easy for aesthetics, and Notion has it for me. Okay, I think no one is asking any more questions than what we covered. So if you guys have anything to add, I think we have a few minutes left, 4 minutes left, exactly.
Well, I saw a question in the chat when it comes to the policies which are needed, and I think this is a very good question. I mean, there's so much things we can do ourselves and companies can do themselves, but of course, when it comes to I also put the answer in the chat already. I mean, when it comes to creating this learning organizations, learning societies kind of perspective. I think we need policies which are actually embracing this. When it comes to Europe has strong labor unions, for instance. I mean, these labor unions are not doing not doing enough to create a learning environment. I mean, their labor unions are mostly about the right payment for people, and I'm totally for the right payment of people. But it also helps next to payment to be able to make your next step in your labor market or in your professional career. So I think people are really helped with constant learning. And the tragic thing is, I mean, we like learning and we like development, so we will do it anyway. But the vulnerable people in the economy, which actually need learning and development to make sure that they can also be part of this new digital economy, these are the people who are not normally incentivized or helped out to make sure that they can make this new step. So actually, these people have to find the right advantages and the right incentives to get to. And I think here policies within companies, but also policies when it comes to governmental policies, play a crucial role that people are able and willing and have the right skills to do this. So I really like that question, and it's really up to the whole society to make sure that this is being done. You can do so much within your own company, but of course it helps if your company or your way of thinking is endorsed, or you get tax breaks or whatever you do as a government to make sure that it's actually done for the right people.
I guess there was also a question from Mohamed about basically whether we are coming back to work after COVID. I guess in my point of view, and I don't think anyone would disagree, that less people are going to be back to work every day. Definitely, I'm not saying that we are not going to be back in an office, but less people will be back in the office every day. I think definitely there are loads of companies who have made it clear that they are going to be flexibly remotely forever, even after COVID. And I guess we would see new trends. I don't claim that I know what will happen, but I think we would see a lot of companies basically making retreats once a month or once a week. But during this week or during this month, it's more flexible whether you are going to work from home or not. I guess some people have liked the kind of flexibility. I've seen my friends in London who have moved basically outside London, so paying less for rent and basically enjoying more time with their family and staying productive at the same time, which is great. I think we all learned a lot of productivity tips and hacks while working in this new environment. And also as employers and as leaders, we learned how to trust our people more and how to empower them more, which is a very, very good thing that all of us have taken away from this pandemic.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect.
I just wanted to add a bit about policies to your question or answer. Farid, is in terms of migration, we see countries stepping up and changing their visa policies as well. So, for example, Estonia is now offering digital nomad visas, and small countries like Barbados, who used to rely on tourism, are looking to attract new talent. And I think we'll see governmental policies around attracting entrepreneurs and offering them the lifestyle that they're looking for, whether it's low rent or whether it's safety or, I think we'll definitely see a bit of shifting there in terms of new tech hubs.
Okay, thank you guys. The startups that Waters are telling me that that our time's up. But that was very efficient, and I'm really happy to be with you guys. And I think see you next summit, I guess, online. Okay, yeah. Ciao. Have a great
Thanks.
day.
Great
Thank you
weekend.
very much.
Gaspar and Farid.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.